Good afternoon. Welcome, fellow members of Phi Beta Kappa, inductees, family, friends, and guests to this year's induction ceremony for Phi Beta Kappa, the nation's oldest and most prestigious honor society. My name is Susan King. I am president of the UCI Mu chapter of Phi Beta Kappa and professor of chemistry. At the 50th anniversary of Mu chapter's founding, we are here today to induct our newest members who will soon begin their lifetime membership and association as Phi Beta Kappa members. Today's inductees have demonstrated outstanding academic achievement in the liberal arts and sciences. In contrast to Latin honors, selection to join Phi Beta Kappa is not based on GPA alone and is considerably more selective. Only the top 4% of graduating seniors and the top 1% of juniors are invited to join this distinguished society. As your school's nominees, you have demonstrated intellectual integrity and curiosity, tolerance for others' views, academic merit, and a broad range of academic interests and coursework outside of the requirements of your major. PBK members are committed to the liberal arts and sciences, to freedom of inquiry and expression, and to the love of wisdom and knowledge for its own sake. I would like to acknowledge all of the friends and family members who are here today to celebrate the induction of these excellent young Phi Beta Kappa scholars. Their accomplishments would not be possible without your support. I invite everyone here to join me in expressing our appreciation to all of the friends and family here today, as well as those who could not be present. I would also like to give special thanks to our leadership at UCI, who recognize that Phi Beta Kappa membership is a singular honor that should not be open only to those who can afford it. Thus, a special thanks to the Chancellor, Provost, and the offices of the Provost and the Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning for the funding support that covers 100% of membership fees, ceremony fees, and certificates for all new members. And finally, a special thank you to all 13 nominating schools for covering the cost of each inductee's Phi Beta Kappa honor cords. We are especially honored to be joined today by my colleagues on the platform who have a special role in today's ceremony and who I'd like to introduce. Those in the first row, as I call your name, please either stand and remain standing or raise your hand until I have read all of the names in the first row. Audience, please hold your applause until I have read all the names from both rows. Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor and Chancellor's Professor of Statistics, Hal Stern. Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning, Dean of Undergraduate Education and Professor of Physics and Astronomy, Michael Denon. Our chapter founding members and present or former executive board members. First founding member, past Phi Beta Kappa President and Professor Emeritus of Physics and Astronomy, Jonas Schultz. Founding member, past Phi Beta Kappa President and Emeritus of Political Science, James Danziger. Founding member, PBK Historian and Professor of Physics and Astronomy, Virginia Trimble. And we also have our current executive board members here with us today, Phi Beta Kappa Vice President and Doctor of Ophthalmology, Stephanie Liu. PBK Treasurer and Assistant Vice Chancellor for Equal Opportunity and Diversity, Gwen Black. PBK Secretary and Faculty Member in English, Becky King. Director of Phi Beta Kappa and the Scholarship Opportunities Program, Rose Jones. And past PBK President and Professor of Physics and Astronomy, Jonathan Fang. And Michael Hingston, who is our honorary PBK alumni member. And of course, his dog Alamo, we don't want to forget. Row one, please take your seat. Those in the second row, as I call your name, please either stand and remain standing or raise your hand until I've read all the names in the second row. 2023 junior inductees Hassan Sheikh, Nathan Chen, Kimia Hashimi, Kristen Leung, and Derek Chang. Please join me in thanking the platform party members. Okay. Please be seated. I'd like to invite Secretary Becky King to the podium.
In 1974, at the behest of UCI's founding chancellor, Chancellor Dan Aldrich, 70 PBK faculty members applied for and received the charter that established the Mu of California Phi Beta Kappa chapter, placing UCI among a select group of universities across the nation with a Phi Beta Kappa chapter. 50 years later, looking out at our 2024 class of inductees, our founders can be proud of their legacy. We are honored to share with you a message by founding member Alexei Maradudin, who could not travel to us today, but has recorded a message for us, which I would like to play now.
I am very proud to have been able to play a part 50 years ago in the establishment of a chapter of Phi Beta Kappa at UC Irvine, a short 9 years after we admitted our first students. It was an indication, among many others, that UC Irvine was slated to become one of this country's top universities. The chapter still exists and is vibrant. I expect that 50 years from now, UC Irvine will celebrate the centenary of the establishment of the chapter Mu of California. It is a celebration that I would be delighted to be able to take part in, but as things stand, I'm just delighted that I've lived long enough to be able to participate in this one. Go Mu of California.
In addition, I'd like to acknowledge the founding members who are able to join us today. I'd like to invite each founding member, as I call out your name, to come to the center of the stage and receive a commemorative plaque from President King as a token of our appreciation and to pose for a photo. So first off, we have Jonas Schultz, Professor Emeritus of Physics and Astronomy. James Danziger, Professor Emeritus of Political Science. Virginia Trimble, Professor Emeritus of Physics and Astronomy.
Take the emeritus out, I'm still working.
Virginia Trimble, Professor of Physics and Astronomy. At this time, I'd also like to invite Provost Stern and Vice Provost Denon to come to the center of the stage for a group photo. Please join me in a standing ovation for our charter founding members. We will be mailing a commemorative plaque to all the founding members who were unable to travel to today's ceremony. At this point in the ceremony, I would like to ask Virginia Trimble, our historian, to give a brief account of the history of Phi Beta Kappa.
We need a trash basket. You can spend some time contemplating why so many of the survivors are physicists. I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I hadn't thought about it. Okay. Yes. 3 important organizations came into being in 1776. The United States of America, the Bolshoi Ballet of Moscow, Russia, and Phi Beta Kappa. You'll probably be relieved to hear that I only tried to tell you about the history of the third one. Though all 3 started small, came through perilous times, and emerged triumphant. Our society, like many things, had its origins in a few discontented young people. They wanted a place where they could debate contentious issues. And if you don't know what a contentious issue is, you haven't been here the last few weeks. Okay. They were students and faculty of College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia. They met at the Raleigh Tavern in December 1776 because they wanted a safe place where they could discuss inflammatory issues. When British troops under General Cornwallis occupied Williamsburg, they closed the college, but the society survived because there had been chapters established at Yale and Harvard. The pink and blue just doesn't go with many things. I'm not going to talk about it. The founders were all white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant males, a point to which I shall return. 2 were Masons, which had some influence on early Phi Beta Kappa rituals and rules. There were Latin and Greek mottos, a secret handshake and a secret gesture. My lips are sealed. I find I don't talk very well with my lips sealed, so I won't talk for very long. There was a key, which you'll shortly be entitled to wear. It looks like this, only smaller, of course. And where were we? Yes, okay. It shows a hand pointing to 3 stars: aspiration, the aims of the society, friendship, morality, and literature. The motto is Philosophia Bio Kubernetes. Actually, you know all those words. Philosophia is philosophy, bio is the bio of biology, and Kubernetes is the root of cyberspace and cybernetics and so forth. The meaning is philosophy is the helmsman of life. A modern sage said, sailing the seas depends on the helmsman. Anybody recognize that phrase? I see people who should. I'm not going to tell you. And 2,100 years ago, Publius said, anyone can hold the helm when the sea is calm. Of course, you don't make much progress that way. A number of things have happened since that founding. In the intervening 248 years, Ralph Waldo Emerson spoke at an anniversary ceremony in 1837, I remember it well, under the title The American Scholar, at a time when most Europeans thought of Americans as woodsmen wearing coonskin caps. His title became our main publication. It looks like this, but of course you have to pay for it. Though the newsletter. Yeah, newsletter. You'll get this as long as they can keep track of your address, because you will be a Phi Beta Kappa member all your lives, which unfortunately will not be rendered infinite by that membership. Emerson reminded the members that the sages whose ideas they were studying were once young persons in libraries. Well, he said young men, of course, but so what about those white Anglo-Saxon Protestant white members? The first Japanese Phi Beta, Kusanaba Taro, was a math science major, was elected from Rutgers in 1874, died soon after. The first women, Ellen Hamilton and Leda Mason, in 1875, came from the University of Vermont. And the first African-American, Edward Alexander Boucher, was nominated in 1874, but elected only in 1884 from Yale. And I have to interrupt myself to tell you that the American Physical Society now has a prize carrying his name because he was the first Black American PhD and only the 6th physics PhD in the country Meanwhile, George Washington Henderson was elected in 1877, again from Vermont. The first Chinese American, Yan Fu Li, came from Yale in 1887. He gave a commencement address on the other side of the Chinese question about why Americans were afraid of immigration, one of those contentious issues that we still sometimes discuss. In fact, the 1870s and 1880s were the time frame when women and African Americans began to be mainstream members of society in general. The first women voted in Wyoming, the first black and female lawyers. I didn't know them very well, so don't remember their names. The first black members of Congress, and the first temperance organization founded by a woman whose name I do remember, because although she was generally known as Mother Thompson, she was born as Eliza Jane Trimble, sister of my great-great-great-grandfather, and no, I don't entirely share her principles. I tried hard to find, and have failed so far, to identify the first Latinx, the first Catholic, the first Muslim, and the first Jewish members of PBK, and will offer a dinner at a place of your choice to any member, new member, and their parents who find out and tell me. Many of the founding members fought in the Revolutionary War, served in the Continental Congress, the Constitutional Convention, the first U.S. Congress. More recent members have included 17 U.S. presidents. FDR, under whose administration I was born, used to wear his Phi Beta Kappa key for photo ops in the 1930s. 42 Supreme Court justices, more than 150 Nobel Prize winners, members of Congress, and other folks you may not actually want to resemble very much. But also the founder of Amazon.com, Alfred Kinsey, Leonard Bernstein, actress Ellen Close, and Eileen Collins, who skippered a space shuttle flight, and retired quarterback Peyton Manning. There's a lesson here, too. A Phi Beta who goes in for scholarly activities can still win young scientist prizes when quarterbacks are retiring. Phi Beta Kappa now has 293 chapters and a membership of about 500,000, roughly constant, because people die off at the same rate they're elected. The William and Mary chapter, of course, is Alpha of Virginia. We founded in 1974 Mu of California, including you. How many? We've initiated a whole bunch of people because we're now a big campus, but it's still many fewer than 10% of the graduates. And because only about 10% of colleges have a Phi Beta Kappa chapter, you guys are 1%ers, there's no doubt about it. Alpha and Beta of California are Berkeley and Stanford. Lambda is UC Santa Barbara. And Nu is San Diego State, just before and just after us. I was actually initiated almost exactly 60 years before this. And I received a certificate. I knew something would hang up. The bloody binder clip. Nah. I received a certificate. Yours is going to look a lot like it. A small handbook. A letter from the dean. And a bill. for my Phi Beta Kappa key, which is now hung as an earring. The handbook explained that there are 3 categories of members. 1, members in course. Those are you wonderful young people here today. 2, honorary members like Dean Denon. 3, alumni members like Michael Hinkson. And I believe our chapter is going to have the honor of a new division called K9. The key, of course, was originally designed your pocket watch. And one of my failed experiments of trying to make this work last year just didn't. In any case, we hope for you that a Phi Beta Kappa key will serve to unlock opportunities for intellectual advancement, leadership, and service. And over to you, Madam President. My great Aunt Mary used to say it was hell to be old. She was right.
Thank you, Virginia. Next, I am very pleased to introduce Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning, Dean of Undergraduate Education, and Professor of Physics and Astronomy, Michael Denon, to introduce our keynote speaker.
So it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker this year. It is Executive Vice Chancellor and Provost, Hal Stern.
Thanks for that effusive introduction, Michael. To my platform party members, inductees, families, and friends, it is a great pleasure and a great honor for me to be a part of today's celebration of the 50th anniversary of the UC Irvine Phi Beta Kappa chapter and to induct these new members. I frequently start my remarks by describing the role of provost and executive vice chancellor, as I have learned that this is not very well understood. So I'm invited because I'm the provost, but nobody knows what the provost does. It includes my wife. When I first got appointed, she said, "That's great. What do you do?" The provost is a term that comes from the French, prévôt, and refers to a person who is placed in charge. Placed in charge of what, you might ask? It's used in many settings, churches, so someone who's in charge of a church, prisons, so a warden is a form of provost, and these days commonly used in educational institutions. The provost is the chief academic officer of the university. So in that capacity, I work with the deans and other administrators to develop and run academic programs, to hire and review faculty and other assorted academic tasks. The other title that Vice Provost Annan mentioned, Executive Vice Chancellor, is most easily understood in terms of a company's organizational chart. If we think about the Chancellor as the CEO of the university, I am the COO, the Chief Operating Officer. So work with other senior leaders on budget, space, et cetera. Enough about me. PBK, as you know, and has been said, is the nation's oldest and most prestigious honor society. As Virginia told us, dates back to 1776. Shortly after the founding of the nation. The UCI chapter, celebrating its 50th anniversary, has nominated more than 10,000 anteaters to join Phi Beta Kappa, and those happen to be the only 10,000 anteaters in the organization, so that's great. I do want to mention one relatively new program that Phi Beta Kappa does. It's called the Key into Public Service, and it awards scholarships to individuals aiming at careers in government and public service. And it's a very highly selective award, only 20 across the United States each year. This has happened for only 5 years, and UC Irvine this year has its second winner in that short set. So congratulations to Kayla Wan on that. The students being recognized today have demonstrated outstanding academic achievement in liberal arts and sciences. They are the top 4% of seniors and the top 1% of juniors. This is, as has been said, one of the highest academic honors that an undergraduate student can achieve. I am a professor of statistics, so I can't help but throw some numbers in here. I'd like to share that this year's class includes 64% of the students are female, 37% come from low-income households, 27% are part of the first generation in their family to attend college. University of California, Irvine is a Hispanic serving institution and an Asian American and Native American Pacific Islander serving institution. So those are federal designations that refer to our student body. And in that context, it's important to note that this year's group includes 59% Asian American and Pacific Islander students, 12% Hispanic students, and 2% African American students. In addition to scholarly achievement, each of the students has demonstrated intellectual integrity, tolerance for others' views, and a broad range of academic interest. On behalf of the entire UCI community, I'd like to extend my congratulations to our inductees, their family, friends, and supporters. As you likely know, the Honor Society's motto is that love of learning is the guide of life. I'd like to talk briefly about love of learning in my life, and then dig a bit deeper into some elements that I believe characterize a love of learning. Phi Beta Kappa recognizes scholarly achievement, we know that. All of you have had great success in the classroom and in a broad range of courses. PBK encourages scholarship in the liberal arts and sciences, broadly construed as all the disciplines that are focused on understanding the natural and social world. But a love of learning is more than just doing well in classes. I'd like to share a teeny bit about my journey. My parents grew up very poor in New York City, in Brooklyn. They were first-generation Americans, so their parents came over from Europe. They did not go to college. The people around them did not go to college. In fact, they all had to work to support their families, so it wasn't really an option. My father served in the military and then got an office job. He was a secretary, in fact. When they started a family, they put a big emphasis on learning, and I feel like that's where I inherited a love of learning from. So even though they had not gone to college, they put a big emphasis on the schooling of their children, myself and two brothers. We were encouraged to read, we were encouraged to engage in current event discussions, and they, as many parents, want their children to have a better life. They wanted and expected us to go to college, even as they did not know what a college experience would be. A favorite family story in my house involves the time my parents were going on vacation and leaving my older brother, who was then in college, in charge for the first time. So parents can understand what a big deal that is. My older brother was, he's very smart, he's done very well, but he was not as engaged in scholarship as I. And my parents got very nervous that, God forbid, something should happen while they were traveling, you know, that he would say, enough, you know, don't need to go to college. So they made sure that they made him promise that Hal could learn as long as he could learn, right? They didn't know about graduate school, they didn't know anything, they just knew that I should have the opportunity to keep learning. So it's a memory that's very important to me about the commitment of my parents to education and learning, and I've long felt the same way. I've been at UC Irvine for 22 years, or at least in a couple of weeks, I'll have been here for 22 years. And the similarity of many of our students' experiences to mine growing up is something that moves me year after year at this time of year. For me, one way that a love of learning manifests is through curiosity and an openness to new ways of looking at things. Albert Einstein famously said, "I have no special talents, I am only passionately curious." Now, I think we can all agree there was some special talent there. I think some of the great stories of discovery show about what curiosity can achieve and what being open to new ways of looking at things can achieve. So I have two very quick anecdotes about that. One is Alexander Fleming's chance observation that a fungus destroyed bacteria is what started us on the path to penicillin. So again, being open to new ideas. The second is from my discipline of statistics, and it concerns discussions during World War II about where to add armor to planes. So when planes were getting shot at, there was a desire to add more armor, but of course the more armor you add, the heavier the plane is and the less effective for that reason. So there was a goal to figure out where to put the armor. So a bunch of military researchers had gathered data on where the bullet holes were in the planes that came back and proposed to put the armor there. And a statistician named Abraham Wald, an immigrant to the US from Europe, told them they should in fact put the armor where the holes weren't, because those are the planes that did not come back. And that's why the armor went over the engine. So a new way of looking at things, very important, okay? Today, we're living in challenging times. That means there are a ton of issues that need to be addressed in areas ranging from climate change and environmental sustainability, to human health and wellness for an aging population, to human rights and beyond. These will all require a new way of looking at things. At the same time, the world and our country are incredibly polarized. There is global conflict, and there is US politics, we all know, are characterized by deep divides and a lack of civilized discourse. Now, remarks at ceremonies like this often include advice to the honorees. I will say that I know, years from now, people will remember the event and the honors, but not the advice. That's fine, I'm good with that, but I still do want to share at least one piece of advice, and that is to keep an open mind, to seek knowledge about multiple views, to be open to other ways of thinking about things, and to look for nuance rather than absolutes. I don't read many leadership books, but one that I did read is called The Contrarian's Guide to Leadership by Stephen Sample, former president of the University of Southern California, USC. It contains a number of suggestions, but the one that struck me, and that's, I think, relevant to what I want to say today, is about the value of thinking gray. What sample means by thinking gray is to recognize the complexity of situations and avoid oversimplifications. I think the tendency for people to gravitate to strong opinions immediately in complex situations is a key contributor to our polarized society. In my view, much better to wait, take your time, read, engage with people who don't agree with you, change the TV news channel to see what the other side is saying, and think carefully before jumping to any final conclusions. In closing, I want to encourage you to continue your journey, wherever it takes you, by thinking gray, finding new ways to look at things, and being open to other viewpoints. As smart, engaged, hardworking, lifelong learners, your future is wide open. I hope that your Phi Beta Kappa membership will serve as a badge of honor that leads you to many exciting opportunities. I close with a quote from an Indian philosopher, Jiddu Krishnamurti, that seems appropriate to the event. There is no end to education. It is not that you read a book, pass an examination, and finish with education. The whole of life, from the moment you are born to the moment you die, is a process of learning. Congratulations to you all.
Thank you, Provost Dorn, for your thoughtful keynote address. We will now begin the induction of new members. Fellow members of Phi Beta Kappa and honored guests, we meet here today to receive into our society those who have qualified for election and now wish to be admitted to its privileges and undertake its responsibilities. In a ceremony that goes back to the time of the founding of our nation, we shall welcome them into association with all of those who have been members of Phi Beta Kappa in the past and into a lifelong relationship with the society. Will the candidates for membership here please rise if you are able to do so? In accordance with the rules of this chapter and in consequence of our good opinion of your intellectual and moral character, supported by your record of high attainment in the university, you have been selected as worthy of becoming members of Phi Beta Kappa. Your names have been submitted to the scrutiny of the constitutional electors of the chapter in your schools and have garnered their election approval. You have been formally notified of your election, and by your presence here, you signify your desire to be enrolled as members of this ancient and honorable society. By the rules of this chapter, each inductee must personally pledge allegiance to the society and sign the historic member roll book. Now, all members will be administered their pledge. Once you hear the pledge, please respond in unison with "I do." Do you solemnly promise that you will be true and faithful to Phi Beta Kappa, uphold its standards, obey its laws, and seek to reflect credit upon your affiliation with this venerable fellowship of learners? I do. Thank you. Please be seated. Each of you has now affirmed your loyalty to Phi Beta Kappa and pledged to uphold its standards. We welcome you into the ranks of membership. I now invite our name reader, James Danziger, to the podium.
I will begin by inviting the junior inductees who represent the top 1% of your class to please stand and proceed to the stage where you will give your name pronunciation card to me, and I will do my best to respond to your phonetics. So what will happen, by the way, is as you come up, once I read your name, you'll proceed to stand with Susan. She will take your picture, and then you will carry on to the far end of the stage and down below where you will sign into the registry. Elena Lucia Dern. That is a swell applause, but let's hold it to the end so that we don't exhaust ourselves with applause and nobody can hear when I read your name phonetically. So hold those applause for the end of all the juniors and then the end of all the seniors. Back to where I was. Sophia Renee Laurel. Wait till I say your name. Michelina Nguyen. Danielle Chow. Natalie Sophia Ringdahl. Kaylee Jones. Vivian Wei. Sabrina Cheng. Caitlin Miranda. Anna Pham. Alexandria Wang. Vesa Shi. Cynthia Acevedo. Ashley Fielding. Harbor Lee. Andrew Wynn. Hannah Walsh. Jack Manalo. Ethan Fien. Gabriel Gadja. Kelly Pham. Vanessa Johnson. Matthew Ibrahim. Atron Dazici. That completes all of the junior Phi Betas, a very extraordinary accomplishment. Let's congratulate them. And now we will begin to ask all of our senior inductees who represent the top 4% of your class to stand as they are and proceed up to the stage, read in the names, photograph, signature, back to your seats. Here we go. Kale Swen. Savannah Nygaard. Jeannie Shaw. Amy Fong. Sally Chung. Rithik Popat. Yemin Ong. Benjamin Yang. Chloe Schrader. Maya Lee. Allison Okamura. Malini Asha Aurora. Carissa Batyat Jacob. Isabella Chinichi. Jamie Chen. Joey Yi. Connor Danskin. Ashley Lopresto. Caitlin View. Henry McLeish. Neha Ramani. Ramia, so sorry. Isha Gupta. Aya Galal Salem. Tony Liu. Kaylee Shia. Jerry Matthew Villegas. Amanda Lee. Kayuan Hu. Wenshuan Han. Brandy Sue Madison. Ethan Ponte. Fiorella Barreto. Sophia Yung Ma. Caitlin Aoki. Megan Yasemin Rizk. Camila Haro. Mona Takuma. Sorry. Elizabeth Leah Ripzensky. Roseanne de Guzman. Lauren Yamauchi. Janice Julissa Chavez. Julie Loretich. Jacob Liu. Neil Ayer. Eva Clough. Mia Brixey. Youngjun Ha. Diego Castillo. Kathy Dang. Guda Hassan. Michelle Tran. Fangning Luo. Marissa Trujillo. Jackson Solheid. Alexis Young. Christina Colias. Miles Trevor Tolbert. Gabriela Umini. Iselis de la Rosa. Vidbao Tran. Sebastian de Leon. Ahmed Marashili. Terrence Lee. Darren Whittree. Catherine Molleja Rodriguez. Kyla Kuvalowski. Natasha Xiao. Arkan J. Singh Verma. Brianna Doran Riviera. Jasmine Scott. Hajar Aziz. Andres Gutierrez. Alex Chiang. Kim No. Jasmine Melissa Carteño. Sarah Wu. Felix Dorian McLaughlin. Hailey Tran. Joshua Chung. Matt Serino. Barbara Rubsovevu. Yifan May. That completes all of our inductees. I will ask Susan to return to the podium and carry on. But before I do that, congratulations to all of our new members.
I ask at this moment for all inductees to again stand, if able to do so, in order to be declared Phi Beta Kappa inductees. By election of the chapter and by your assent to its pledge, the Society's requirements for induction are fully satisfied. I therefore, in the presence of these members of the Society, declare you members of Mu Chapter of Phi Beta Kappa in the state of California and authorize you to wear its key as a badge and to participate in its meetings. It is now my pleasure to welcome you as members of UCI Mu Chapter. Congratulations. Please join me in applauding our new members. You may be seated. This year's honorary Phi Beta Kappa member is UCI Anteater Michael Hingson. Michael Hingson, blind since birth, was born to sighted parents who raised him with a can-do attitude. He attended UCI, hosted a radio show at KUCI, eventually receiving a master's degree in physics and a secondary teaching credential at a time when UCI did not yet have a PBK chapter. Michael worked in management roles for tech companies until September 11th, 2001, when he and his guide dog, Roselle, led many colleagues calmly to safety from the 78th floor of Tower 1 of the World Trade Center. They were then thrust into the international limelight, where Michael began to share lessons of trust, courage, and teamwork as a public speaker. Mike is the author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, Thunder Dog, The True Story of a Blind Man, His Guide Dog, and the Triumph of Trust at Ground Zero, selling over 2.5 million copies. He is a world-renowned public speaker, and I am pleased to acknowledge this year's Mu Chapter honorary PBK alumni member. I invite you to join me in welcoming Michael Hingson to Phi Beta Kappa. We also want to use this occasion to recognize and honor our PBK Mu Chapter colleague, Dr. Brian Scott Robbins, who tragically left this world much too soon. Brian Scott Robbins, MD, passed away on Friday, April 3rd, 2009, at the age of 33. Brian was born in Los Angeles, California, graduated from UC Irvine in 1997, Boston University in 1998, and Tel Aviv University's Sackler School of Medicine in 2002. He completed his residency in internal medicine at Albany Medical Center in 2005 and was a hospitalist at St. Mary's Hospital until his untimely death. His accomplishments include excellence in research and being inducted to Phi Beta Kappa through UCI School of Biological Sciences in 1997. Please join me in a moment of silence to recognize and remember our fellow Phi Beta Kappa member, Dr. Brian Scott Robbins. At this moment, I would like to introduce our chapter treasurer, Gwen Coons-Black, who will introduce this year's Graduate Study Awards recipient.
Good afternoon, everyone, and congratulations, all of you. I remember when I was first inducted and I did not know what Phi Beta Kappa is, and now I'm serving on the chapter, and I hope you will also volunteer with the society at some point in your future. Each year, the Phi Beta Kappa Alumni Chapter of Southern California and UCI's Phi Beta Kappa Mu Chapter provides a scholarship for graduate study for an outstanding member of our chapter. This award takes into account merit and financial need with strong consideration for continued studies in the liberal arts and sciences. On behalf of the selection committee, it is my honor to present this year's Phi Beta Kappa Graduate Scholarship Award to Kyle Swen. Kyle is receiving a bachelor's degree in Earth System Science and conducted research in ecology and evolutionary biology. He will continue his academic studies at UC Irvine, pursuing a Master of Science degree in ecology and evolutionary biology. In the graduate program, Kyle will continue his research on the feeding patterns of range-shifting intertidal predators and the role of habitat-forming species in protecting prey species from predation. In other words, carnivorous snails are expanding along the California coast, and Kyle is testing if mussels are providing refuge to barnacles, helping them survive from the invading snails. His study of the interactions between shellfish species and intertidal zones in the face of warming coastal waters will better inform conservation efforts so they can be as accurate and effective as possible. After completing the master's program, Kyle plans to pursue a PhD in ecology or serve as an environmental scientist for a national or state park or the U.S. Geological Survey. Kyle believes it is important that he contribute to findings about our natural world, especially in the face of so many global changes, and he intends that his research will impact future generations and the communities we all live in. Congratulations, Kyle Swen, on your outstanding academic achievements at UCI. We wish you continued success as you embark on your graduate studies, and will you please join me up here on the stage?
We now ask the new members to join us in the election of officers for 2024 to 2025. The slate presented by the nominating committee consists of Dr. Stephanie Liu for president, Becky King for vice president, Gwen Coons-Black for secretary-treasurer, and Virginia Trimble for historian. We will now hold a vote at this point in our ceremony. All in favor, please say aye. All in not favor, say nay. Say nay. Aye or nay? Aye. The ayes have it. We conclude with the charge in the words of the ritual of 1779. You all at this moment experience in yourselves the heartfelt satisfaction which we do at this, our valuable acquisition. Friendship, pleased with its success, now smiles on this addition to our society. Let it be our joint care to extend the friendship which has ever been exercised by the society to these new members, that they may hereafter become veterans in its service. Congratulations, new members. You are now lifetime members of the nation's oldest academic honor society. We hope you will be active in its programs and the community alumni associations, supporting its endeavors and lofty goals, and be a working advocate for the liberal arts in our society. It is now my pleasure to welcome you as members of the chapter. Please take a moment to learn the secret handshake of Phi Beta Kappa.
Hi, I'm Fred Lawrence, Secretary and CEO of the Phi Beta Kappa Society. Congratulations on your election to Phi Beta Kappa. If no one has shown you the secret handshake yet, it's my pleasure to do so now. The secret handshake actually goes back centuries to when we really were a secret society, and the symbol when two members passed each other on the street was to take these two fingers, draw them across the mouth to say our lips are sealed. Well, our lips aren't sealed anymore. We want the whole world to know you're a member of Phi Beta Kappa, but when two members meet, it's those same two fingers clasped, and that's the secret handshake. I really look forward someday, and hopefully very, very soon, to meet all of you in person and to be able to share a proper Phi Beta Kappa greeting. Congratulations and welcome to the Phi Beta Kappa family.
This concludes the formal part of the induction ceremony. UC Phi Bates, please join me in a resounding anteater cheer. And for guests, let me demonstrate and repeat Zot 3 times. I hope I'm doing this right. Zot, Zot, Zot. Ready? Okay, we got that. Thank you again for participating in today's ceremony. Please join us for light refreshments and to get better acquainted in the adjoining Pacific Ballroom, AB, right there. And please visit Michael Hingson for a signed copy of his book at the table next to the stage.